Welcome back, you beautiful people, to the second recording of the Real Collective podcast show. We forgot to press the record button again, so here we are doing it all over again. Kyle and Sean, your two best friends in real estate. Kyle, how the heck are you today on a gloomy November day?
You know, the same way I was when we didn't record this 2.5 hours ago, 4 hours ago.
Yeah,
just great. Enjoying this spring weather at the end of November.
Yeah,
sure.
Nothing lasts forever, even cold November rain. It's the same joke I made this morning, making it all over again today. As always, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with somebody you think might like this conversation. You can also download the buyer or seller guides down below. You can also check out the Calendly links below. Kyle and I would be more than happy to sit down with you and have a conversation about how the stuff we're going to talk about today applies to you and your family, whether you're buying or selling or refinancing or investing, whatever it might be. And of course, stick around, keep your eyes peeled for our Magic Mind Black Friday sale. www.magicmind.com/RCPBF. Real RCP stands for Real Collective Podcast. BF stands for boyfriend, also stands for Black Friday, also stands for Bills Fanatics. My shout out to my buddy Ron Rico from the Bills Fanatics, Bills Mafia. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan, or if you don't like football, that's okay too. And you can get it. We'll talk a little bit more about them later, but check them out. Magic Mind, awesome stuff. We'll jump right into it. Kyle, you were having a conversation a little bit about a presentation, a seminar that you gave to the other realtors. And it really, I mean, I heard it already this morning, but it tweaked me a lot because I think it's true. So hit it up.
Yeah, so I was presenting to a bunch of realtors the other day, and the main point that I was getting to was the information we're getting from all the sources, media, social media, and a lot of this is realtors. And I'm not dogging realtors. I'm just saying I was pushing them, saying I'd like you to be a little bit more better and a little bit more accurate, and maybe go a different route so you don't sound like the other 99,000 that are out there, right? And because the big thing that we get pigeonholed as consumers, especially in our industry, well, like in every industry, that bottom price, bottom cost is the only thing that matters, right? Like if it's cheap, you're good, and it's going to make everything better. And what's interesting is that we'll apply that to certain things like a mortgage, for example, which does make sense. Cheaper interest, yeah, like it makes sense.
Sure.
But we won't do that to wood furniture, right? Like the cheapest wood furniture is not the best furniture, right. Not necessarily, right? And the whole point of it was to get to get people thinking differently, that the interest rate is not going to save you. In our market right now, interest rates are not going to save you. If they don't come back, and by if I mean they probably are not ever coming back to start with a 2 in front of it, that is not going to make, unless it does that, your life is not going to get any easier. Is it going to be more affordable if they get lower? Sure. Significantly, tens of thousands of dollars more affordable? Not really. So we have to start looking at things a different way and sending a different message on how people can get into the market. And that's what I was telling these realtors. And I used an example from a client, and 2 different ways we were helping a client out. And one of the ways is really just a math problem. So we were helping out this young lady, and she was trying to buy a house, and it was a reasonably priced house. She makes good money, but she carries some debt, like we all do: car payment, and credit card, and student loan. And she had some payments. And when we did the math, I was like, look, you have 2 options. One, you can increase your down payment to $70,000 from the 20 that we need. Or we can find a way to pay off $14,000 worth of debt. And that's how much difference it makes. The biggest thing is that people need to understand. The 2 things that drive a successful mortgage application is income and debt payments. I don't care if your Tesla's worth $100,000. If the payment's $2,000 a month, that will screw you over way more than if it was $400 a month. I don't care what the balance is, right? And if you have $10,000 of extra income, because people get into this mindset of like, it's the biggest investment I have, I have to pay it off the earliest because that's what my mom and dad said to do. And other debt is, it sucks, but we can deal with it. It's the complete opposite, right? $10,000 on a mortgage is spread out over 25 or 30 years. Do the math on that. It's you can't even buy a cup of coffee for that much money a day, right? It's cheaper than that. It's that least little of an impact. If you have no debt, yes, put more money on the mortgage, like fine. Sure. But if you don't and you have any other debt, the key really is to focus on paying down and paying off other debt, because that's what we were saying. We're like, you can make this work if you magically shake another $50,000 out of your couch and now have a $70,000 down payment, or we can focus and figure out how to get rid of 14 grand worth of debt. And that's where we shifted it. And that's the focus that I was aiming at these realtors to go get. A lower interest rate is going to help. It is not going to help to the tune that paying off debt will, just about ever in this market.
It's funny because one of the things that we get so caught up in this sort of consumer world is, it's a race to the bottom. It's a commodity, right? So it's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to buy a toothpaste, and the toothpaste next door is $2.50, and the toothpaste I'm selling is $2.75. Someone's going to go buy it next door for $2.50 all day long. But the real difference is I'm not trying to worry about that extra quarter, right? Like, I don't want to race to the bottom and give it away. I always tell people, not just about houses, not just about interest rates, but everything. I'd rather spend a little bit more and get exactly what I want than spend a little bit less and make a mistake. And everybody's had that experience where you go to the store and you buy yourself a pair of shoes and you're like, wow, you know what? I didn't want to spend $150 on shoes. That seemed like a lot. So I went and I got the $85 shoes. And they seem like they're just about the same. And then you know what the problem is? When you buy the $85 shoes, is that next year you got to go and buy those $85 shoes again because they broke. So now you're into it for $170 versus the $150 you could have spent and got 3 years out of the shoes. Now you spend $170 grand, and you only get 2 years out of the shoes because you're like, I don't want to spend that extra little bit of money to get what I want. I'd rather spend a little bit less. The problem is oftentimes you're going to make a mistake when you do that. That's what I found that across the board.
And it is different with, I agree with that. It is different with the mortgage because of just interest and how interest is and how much we pay. And I understand that. But if you're looking to get into the market and you're sitting there waiting to think, okay, well, the interest rate drops, then I'll get in. If you have no debt, like nothing, I might agree with you on that if you're just worried about interest, right? I don't agree with it because I think getting in sooner is always better than later. Yeah. But if you're just looking at interest, fine. But the minute you finance something, first of all, that begs the question. If you've got anything paying on a credit card or a line of credit or financing, and you're going to come to me and worry about your interest rate, we are not on the same plane, because that makes no sense. Yeah. None. It's the cheapest money out there.
Yeah, that's right.
For anything. Yeah. So it makes no sense that you worry about interest and carry a balance. Don't worry, I carry a balance. I also don't worry about interest, but that's me. And what I'm saying is, when you look at it from a whole picture, how much money goes out at the end of the month? And I'll have an example for this. How much money goes out at the end of the month? Why does it matter in general? Why does it matter if you're making payments to 7 things or just one thing? Sure. Yeah, right? Like, why do we compartmentalize things so bad? Right. Yeah. And the point of that was the same client, because she said, Kyle, I don't just have 50 grand extra. I'm like, obviously. She's like, I can fight for the 14, but now I'm not gonna be able to buy till, at least sometime next year. And I was like, but we could do this. And we put together a scenario where we used a cashback mortgage to pay the debts that she had. Yes. The interest rate was higher, 50-ish, 60 basis points higher. And people are like, that's insane. Like, we went from 4.3 to 5.2, right? So 90 basis points basically. But when you look at it, what we paid off and the difference in mortgage payment, she was still better by $230 a month.
Yeah.
And she got to buy today. Yeah,
so
Where's the downside here?
Well, here's the thing, right? People are looking at, oh, well, it's 90 basis points. But again, taking that siloed approach isn't going to get it for you. If you take the approach of, hey, yeah, it might be 90 basis points better, but it's actually 1,270 basis points better than the 19.9% credit card that you're going to be paying off for the next fucking 20 years anyways.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you look at it in that whole version of it, and you understand how impactful down the payments are, and how little effect extra down payment has, which is super disappointing when you look at the math, right? It sucks, but then it works. So if we can switch the focus, and that's what I was focusing on those realtors. I'm like, you want to be different? Talk like this. That'll separate you from 99% who are just like, all the rates are 3.75 today. First of all, you're wrong. Second of all, God, like I was losing my mind. But that's the thing. If you look at it from a different angle, there's ways to help this work. And it's that holistic look at it. I hate saying that word, but it is that looking at it from that angle that tips a lot of it for a lot of people.
Well, here's the thing is like a lot of people, general public, they'll reach out and say, hey, you know what? I think the market's better now because I saw the rates were coming down. And the public says that to me. Hey, it looks like the rates are coming down, so it should have a better impact on your business, right? People think, hey, if the rates are coming down, more people are going to jump off the fence. And I think we've lulled ourselves as agents into a false sense of like, oh, well, my next year is going to be better because then the rates will come down. So we're waiting because other people are telling us that they're also waiting, but we are not moving the narrative forward and say, hey, you know what? This isn't about the rates coming down or the not the rates. It's not about.
Attaboy. That's working. It's working.
It's not about the overnight posted rate coming down by the Bank of Canada. It's about, do you need to buy a house? How can we put a package together for you that makes sense for you and your family to move on to the next stage of your life? What's the real motivating factor? Let's use that as the engine to move this forward. Hey, I'm moving out of this place because I don't like my neighbor. You know, my neighbor's a real jerk. Okay, well, regardless of what the rates are doing, your neighbor's still going to be a jerk, whether they're high rates or low rates or whatever it is. So let's sort it out, right? Let's get you sorted out. And I think that's the shift that we need to do as agents to move forward, right? People say, "Oh, how's the market?" And oftentimes my response is, "Well, you know what? My market's fine. The market is what you make of it, right? You as a salesperson or a broker or whatever you want to call yourself, a realtor, you're in charge of your own market. If you want to be busier, you can make it busier." Right? You can go and get your fair share of whatever the market is, and if you want more, we're in the business to be able to get more. Like, you can just go and do that. You pick up the phone more, talk to more people, schedule more appointments and help more people. If you're just sitting around and waiting for something to happen, it's probably not going to happen. So,
yeah. And it's there's money, there's a value for your time. There's a value for your sanity, right? I talk about that a lot when we talk about construction mortgages and how banks do it one way, non-bank lenders, private lenders do it another. And the private lenders, non-bank lenders are for sure more expensive on paper.
Yep.
But and I'm not saying the banks are bad. If you get the right person at a branch that can handle this, you're going to be in great shape. But the vast majority of those people don't exist anymore because of the turnover at the banks. And I think that's a fair assessment.
Yep.
So that's going to drive you crazy and it will cost you more money. So there's a price to be paid for sanity and simplicity. And when it's done, I guarantee you won't give a shit. It'll just be, and that'll be that. Right. And it's a similar thing. Find that route that keeps it simple, that makes it work, and assess it, because overpaying for anything just because I said so is stupid. But if there's a good reason and valid reason, there's opportunity there.
To make these right decisions, you have to do a big analysis on what's going on, and to be able to do that analysis so well. Kyle, what do you need?
Oh man, I just love my Magic Mind. Yeah,
Magic
I
Mind.
love it.
You need to reclaim your brain, right? As it says right here, Magic Mind all over the place. Reclaim your brain. You need that mental performance shot. I got it everywhere. I got it here. I got it down here. I got it over on this side, right? I got it back here. You never know when you might need your Magic Mind. And this weekend and Black Friday, we got a sale 50% off, half off. Whatever the original price was, it's only half of that. This is meaning that we're talking about one shot of elixir for probably like $3 a pop. And that is money well spent. I'm telling you, I know it. I've lived it. I've experienced it. The website is easy to get to, www.magicmind.com/RCPBF. Enter RCPBF. All the instructions are down below in the links below. And my goodness, it will absolutely help you get your brain to the next level so that when you do leave things hiding around, you can just go, boom, grab yourself some Magic Mind. It's everywhere. You need it to be everywhere because it's so key. You need it.
One
Go.
thing, I tend to, if I notice is like as a market emerges and people start catching on real quick about how good something is, it's amazing how much it gets flooded so quick, especially in today's world. And I know someone's like, well, obviously. I'm like, yeah, but at first the first people in are like, I wonder if it's true, meh, 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 meh. And then when you see more and more, mushroom based, nootropics based things coming out, like you can kind of sense it's a little bit more legit than just a witch's brew. And having been on it and having used it for as long as I have, it's a great difference maker. It's so simple and it's there. It's convenient. It doesn't taste like garbage, so
Great.
it's nice. And it has been a really interesting journey with it over the last year that we've had it and had them working with us. So super stoked to have them back, and it's a good deal.
I'll tell you, in that year that we've been with them, they've changed their formula. I can tell it's a little bit sweeter, and at the bottom of the thing, sometimes you need to shake it up. I'll see if we can find another one here. Yeah, see, sometimes now it's black. It used to be brown before you shake it up. So obviously they changed the formula just a little bit, but I'm telling you, it is great. It gives you calm energy. It gives you exactly what you need. It gives you that peace that you need to make it through the whole day. I've shared a lot about not being able to not being able to sleep, but being woken up by the kids in the middle of the night and still having what I need to do to make it through. So hit it up. Black Friday sale, 50% off. RCPBF is the code. Magicmind.com is the place to enter that code in. Magicmind.com/RCPBF50. RCPBF and 50% off. You can go down in the link below if I'm mismatching my words, and you can enter it in. Check it out down there for all the information. And yeah, big fan of the show, big fan of support. You guys are going to be excited to see soon. I'll have some gummies and I'll share about my experience with their new product, the new gummy product. But shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to talk about a couple of clients have reached out and asked about the impact of the zoning changes. I know we talked about this last week, but I've got a little bit more information about it, so I figured I'd share with you. Zoning changes are supposed to come down the pipe December 2025, so in a year from now, right? We're moving from R zones to N zones. Some of the stuff called arterial main street might stay as arterial main street, or might be called hub. There's a new zone called HubSpot. So in the middle of the city, you've got these nodes, these hubs, which have even more density than we were seeing in arterial main street. Neighborhood zones work like this. If you have a neighborhood, what you find is you have these primary streets. So for example, in my neighborhood, I've got Woodruff and I've got Carling. Those are the two main streets. And as you move into the neighborhood, you change your zoning. So if you're within 400 feet of a main arterial road, then you can have N3 zoning. But as you move more interior, it goes down to N2 zoning. And the difference between the two is how many houses you can have per hectare. Not hectare, not the name of a person, but per hectare. And that's a measurement of size. Similar to an acre, but of course an acre is an American measurement, or an imperial measurement, and hectare is a what's it called? What's the other one? Ours, not binary. Why am I thinking binary? Um, metric,
Metric.
metric measurement.
You know what I had to think about there? Stonecutters.
There you
Who
go.
keeps the metric system down? Yeah. Stonecutter song from The Simpsons.
That's a
Metric.
good reference.
Got
Uh,
it.
so 1,000 by 1,000 or 1,000 square meters is 1 hectare. Hectare, sorry, not Hector. Hector is my friend I play soccer with. Um, so the the easy conversion, not easy conversion, is there are, because a lot of times we measure things in square feet, right? Your lot is probably 50 by 100 square feet, and we've got to convert that into hectares. So there are 107 square feet in a hectare. Yeah, 107. So if you talk about an acre has
107,000?
107,000. What did I say? 107?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, yeah, 107,000. And change, 107 and change. I don't know exactly. But if you look at how many square feet there are in an acre, it's 42,000 and change. So it's like
Yeah.
random numbers, right? So the idea being, in every hectare, you can put in N2 zoning 150 dwellings, right? In every, and just to give you a sense of it, if you've got a 50 by 100-foot lot, that's 5,000 square feet. And if there's 107,000 in a hectare, that's going to be 21 units, 21, whatever in that hectare. So if you're allowed 150 units when right now there are 21, that's a significant change.
Big time.
Right? Now, if you go to N3 zoning, which means you're a little bit closer to an arterial main street, you go from 150 to 250 units per hectare.
And so now the other thing too is that we're not talking like side by side by side. At the end of the day, that just doesn't work. So we're going up.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
Yeah. So we're talking 11 meters of height, which gives you 3 stories essentially, or 3.5 stories, which means what you're putting in. So we're working on a deal. I'm working on a deal with a client that we're looking at a lot that's 100 by 100 feet deep, 100 feet wide. All right. And he's looking to buy that. It's something in the 1.2, 1.3 range, and it's got 4 townhouses sitting on it, right? And so what can you do on that as of right down the road? Well, it's going to have N3 zoning, which means that I did the math on it. You can put, that's essentially 1/10 of 250 units on that 100 by 100. It works out to about 24, 25, 26 units on a 100 by 100. Well, if it's 100 by 100, you've got 10,000 square feet of space, right? So if you take out your frontage and your setbacks, you probably have 8,000 square feet of space times 4 floors, right? The basement, main floor, or just elevated main floor, second floor, and third floor. So if you've got 8,000 square feet and you've got 4 floors, and you want to do 6 units per floor, because that's how you get to that's how you get to that. You divide, what do we say, 8,000? Is that what I said?
Yeah.
You divide that 8,000 by 6 units, you got 1,000 square feet. Is that right? 8,000? No.
No, just over about 1,200, 1,250.
Yeah, 13, 12. It says 13.3. 1330. So let's give some allowance for hallways, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got 6 1,200 square feet, essentially sky bungalows. And now you have, so if you've got, 1,000 square feet in a bungalow, think of a bungalow wherever in any sort of neighborhood that's sitting on a 50 by 100-foot lot. You've got 3 bedrooms on the main floor. You've got a kitchen, a living room, and a dining room, and a bathroom. That's it. That's what you're going to have. You're going to have that times 6 times 4 floors. And that's it. That solves the housing crisis. Check. Mission
done. See you on Monday.
Right?
We solved it, guys. Good luck.
But I mean, how much does it cost to build that, and what's that worth when it's done, right? But I mean, it's just really cramming them in there, right? Like that's maybe my math is wrong. Maybe there's something I'm missing. It just feels like, whoa.
But at the same point, to a degree, like we have to wrap our heads around the fact that our cities are going to change, right? But we also have to adapt. We also have to think and adapt to what we're doing, right? Like you can't look at Toronto and everything's gone up for the last 30 years, right? In terms of buildings going
Yes,
up.
right.
And they're silly sized condos. They're not like it's not that they're not useful, but they're not useful, right? When you look at the fact that you've got families that need places to live, not one person, three and four,
Yeah,
right? We're bringing in families and cultures that are four, five, six,
yeah,
right? But they can't afford to buy a house that's going to fit them. That's tough. And I think no matter what, 6, 7 people in a house is tough.
yeah.
So at the very minimum, I have to hope there's going to be something that's like is just what you said. It's in my head. I'm like, you take that top floor of a bungalow and you just keep stacking those on top to a certain degree, and you're going to have a bungalow in the sky that's not really going to have any place to store stuff or very little,
Mm.
right? But that's what it's going to be because you're going to need 3 bedrooms. If we still need to have kids to prop up CPP and stuff, and we need to have more than one, and we have immigration coming in that again culturally we have more than one child, one kid, there has to be a bigger solution while still coming back to well we're densifying and we're going up. So what is that going to look like? You're not going to have a building that's got 400 units. You're going to have a building that's got a third of that, just bigger,
Yeah,
right? But I
yeah,
have no idea what the value is going to be. I have no idea who's going to do it first. The next 25 years are going to be nuts.
yeah, yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see how things go. I just to be clear, it's not just different cultures of families that have 6, 7 people living in a house. We've got 6 people living in our house plus a dog. So I mean, there you go. It's everybody, right? I got
Sure. Yeah. Well, and then that's what, but I think too to that point. Then you've still got the whole thing of I mean over the next 25 years, I'd say,
yeah,
right? We still have this massive push to the multi-generational family
yeah,
because of how expensive healthcare is for our older folks. They need a place to live with somebody taking care of them,
yep.
and it's a dance between paying a nurse to come in or a healthcare worker to come in, or just living at home with your family, right?
Yeah.
Like that's super dynamic as to where this could go.
I, I
Super dynamic.
I think they've got some infrastructure that's going in to help it all out with LRT going in with some of these big maybe
Eventually,
some of these big
maybe.
storage buildings, right? Like you were talking about that before, and how many of those are going up, and they just keep building them. Like people are not throwing their stuff away.
And again, it's seeing those patterns, right? Of like of I'll just say diamond because they're there, but like as diamond came in and you see them on every major street corner, and I'm like, who's filling these places? Like, how much stuff do people have? And then, but I'm guilty from only ever, other than once for like 3 months, living in a home that had a storage room, that had a garage, that had a shed,
Yeah,
right? And now with the sheer amount of people that it like that's probably more cost effective than trying to buy a house just to store your shit. You
yeah,
might as well just move into the condo and go and rotate stuff out of that unit if that's what people do. I don't know, but when you see diamond going up like they do, there's a brand new massive storage place going up on Innis behind a U-Haul place going. A U-Haul is building a big one, right?
yeah.
That's not because people don't have stuff. It's because they don't have any place to put their stuff.
Bingo.
Maybe we should buy less, different conversation. But at the end of the day, people need to put stuff somewhere because they're not living in places that have enough place to put their stuff.
Exactly.
So
And I think it's only going to get worse as we go through this urban densification, right? That's the whole idea is to increase the density, stop the sprawl, and start using what we can up in the air. I think it's a good place to stop. I don't think we need to get into our opinions about it. I think that's just what's going to happen, right? I think that's what they're planning.
eventually,
So as always, you can hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone you think might like this conversation. Check out Magic Mind. Check out Reclaim Your Brain. You can check them out at www.magicmind.com/RCPBF for 50% off. Wow, what a deal. And this is absolutely a way that you can go into the holidays, or you can give it as a gift to someone who really needs to use their brain, keep on their feet, keep on their toes, and really wants to start next year off right. You can also download the buyer or seller guides below. You can also schedule an appointment with Kyle or I in the Calendly links. As always, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you for your ears. And if you're watching us on YouTube, then you get to see our funny faces. Thank you for that. And until next time, keep it real.
Collective.